Venerable Maximus the Greek. January 18th. A Greek scholar invited to Russia to correct liturgical texts endures decades of unjust imprisonment due to political intrigue and his steadfast defense of truth. A heads up in the spirit of transparency. Please be advised that this content may include imprisonment and persecution. The Venerable Maximus the Greek, whose memory the Church keeps on January 21st, lived from approximately 1475 to 1556. He was a monk, scholar, translator, and writer, and he contributed significantly to Russian spiritual and intellectual life in the 16th century. His journey began in Greece, led him through the intellectual centers of Italy, and culminated in his labors and trials in Russia, where he became a confessor of the faith. Born Michael Trivolis around 1475 in Arta, Greece, he came from a noble family that valued learning. His early education took place in Corfu. He then traveled to Italy, immersing himself in the scholarship available in cities such as Florence, Padua, and Venice. This period exposed him to various currents of thought. During his time in Italy, he encountered the Dominican preacher Girolamo Savonarola, whose teachings influenced him for a time, leading him to become a Dominican friar for a brief period. This experience, however, served to clarify his spiritual path. After this time in the West, Michael returned to the Orthodox faith of his ancestors. He recognized the depth and truth of the tradition in which he was raised. Around 1505, he journeyed to the holy mountain of Athos, the spiritual heart of Orthodox monasticism. There, at the Vatopedi monastery, he was tonsured a monk and received the name Maximus. For 10 years, he dedicated himself to prayer, asceticism, and the diligent study of sacred manuscripts. This period on Athos provided him with a firm foundation in patristic theology and the practices of Orthodox spirituality, preparing him for the work he would undertake in a distant land. His knowledge of Greek, Latin, and the Slavonic language, combined with his theological understanding, made him a unique candidate for a special mission. In 1515, Grand Prince Vasily III of Moscow sent a request to the protos of Mount Athos. The prince sought a learned translator to assist in correcting the service books used in Russia and to translate Greek patristic texts into Slavonic. The choice fell upon Maximus. Out of obedience to his monastic superiors, Maximus traveled to Moscow in 1518. His tasks included translating the Psalter with commentary, the Horologion, the Triodion, and other important liturgical and theological works. This work was crucial for the spiritual health of the Russian Church, as correct texts ensured correct worship and understanding of the faith. Maximus began his work in Russia with diligence. His scholarly efforts revealed numerous errors that had entered the Russian service books over centuries due to scribal mistakes and lack of access to original Greek texts. His corrections, aimed at restoring the purity of the liturgical tradition, along with his direct speech regarding certain social and ecclesiastical injustices he observed, created opposition among some powerful figures. He also stood firmly against the Grand Prince's desire to divorce his wife, Solomonia, upholding the sanctity of marriage according to Orthodox teaching. In 1525, these actions led to his downfall. Maximus faced accusations of heresy, treason, and even spying for the Ottoman Turks. These charges were false, fabricated by those who resented his reforms and his outspokenness. He was imprisoned at the Volokolamsk monastery, where he endured physical hardship and spiritual isolation. In 1531, he was transferred to a monastery in Tver, where his confinement continued. Maximus remained steadfast during his imprisonment. Despite the conditions, he continued to write theological works, using whatever materials were available to him. He composed letters, treatises, and commentaries, defending the Orthodox faith, explaining its doctrines, and offering spiritual guidance to those who sought it. His writings circulated among the faithful, providing comfort and instruction, and demonstrating his unwavering commitment to Christ and his Church, even in suffering. He saw his imprisonment not as a punishment, but as an opportunity for deeper asceticism and confession of truth. After more than 2 decades of unjust imprisonment, Maximus was finally released from strict confinement, though he was not permitted to return to Mount Athos, his spiritual home. He spent his final years under supervision at the Holy Trinity St. Sergius Lavra, a prominent Russian monastery. There, surrounded by monastic brethren, on January 21st, 1556, he reposed peacefully in the Lord. He was buried at the Lavra. Accounts of miracles at his tomb followed his repose, confirming his sanctity in the eyes of the people. The Russian Orthodox Church later glorified him as a saint. The life of Venerable Maximus the Greek stands as a witness to intellectual rigor in service of the Church, endurance in the face of adversity, and an unwavering commitment to the truth of the Orthodox tradition. His legacy endures through his translations and writings, which continue to nourish the faithful.